Now you're more fluent.
He's got three!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it. What up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around the world? Y'all know what time it is when you see me. It's Chilltown Hoops in effect. What's going on, guys? I was out of town for a couple of days. Yes, I was. And in the process of me being out of town, I unfortunately wasn't able to get with you. But I'm back in effect now. Here I am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And today I want to talk about something that's interesting. I had a conversation a couple of days ago about what's more important when you're drafting. Is it the better player or the better fit? And the reason I asked that, right? The reason I asked that, what's up, Zed? The reason I asked that is because teams, we think they get it wrong, but there's a reason why they're drafting who they're drafting when they're drafting them, right? So I heard Vlade Divac say that time will tell if he made the wrong decision not taking Luka over Marvin Bagley. Now, as of right now, it looks like he made the wrong decision, and he's right, it does. But at the time, he was building his unit a certain way. And yeah, we get caught up a lot of times in, right? We get caught up a lot of times. What's up, Xavier? We get caught up a lot of times in seeing what's going on right now instead of rewinding the clock back to what it was. Yes, Luka was the EuroLeague MVP. He was 19 years old. He was a phenom. De'Aaron Fox was the best point guard in the country coming out of Kentucky. It was him and it was Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson was a year behind him. So that year was him. He was the best point guard in the country. So with him being the best point guard in the country, right? So with him being the best point guard in the country, what makes more sense for Vlade Divac considering how he's building his unit? I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to build my unit around him, right? I'm going to build my unit around this dude right here. If I build my unit around this guy right here, I got my lead guard of the future, right? I got my lead guard of the future. So with me, and you can say that, Marcus. I didn't think that Lonzo was better than De'Aaron Fox. I thought he was the best point guard in the country. So you can kill that. That was the masses. They said he was the best point guard in the country. I always thought De'Aaron Fox was better than him. Always. The allure of Lonzo was that he was 6'6". That was it. That was it. Other than that, I thought De'Aaron Fox was the best point guard in the country. But that's neither here nor there. So Vlade Divac, he has his guy. Okay, I'm building my unit around this guy right here. In the process of me building my unit around this guy right here, we're going to be bad this year. But the next year, okay, I got my lead guard. Because, De'Aaron Fox, for all intents purposes, he got busy as a rookie. Right? He got busy as a rookie. And with him getting busy as a rookie, I think he averaged something like 12, 13 a game. I don't know, something like that, right? Something like 12, 13 a game. And the next year, it goes from that to almost 18 a game. So I got my lead guard. So now let me put a big guy around him. This was the idea. Thinking about what Luka is today and thinking about what Luka turned into, it's easy to 20 hindsight is definitely 2020, right? That hindsight is always 2020. You look back and go, what were they thinking? When in reality, it does make sense why Divock was doing what he was doing. I've always been a fit guy. And the reason why I've always been a fit guy, because I've seen teams who have better players and they don't, and it doesn't work. I've seen that. And not just in the super team era. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about overall. I've seen teams that have great players and it just doesn't work. Having great players does not mean that this thing is going to work just because you got great players. No, you got to have guys who work together and who fit. And Marvin Bagley, I remember when him coming out in I believe it was 2018. My buddy had told me 2 years ago about him when he was in high school. My buddy told me he thought that he was going to be an awesome pro. He thought he was going to be a fantastic pro. My buddy Terry, he raved about this kid. Yo, this kid is 6'9". He shoot it with the best of them. He gets to the bucket with the best of them. He gets to the rim. He finishes around the rim. Great one-on-one player. He boards up. He's going to be a really good pro. So with that, this is how I'm building my unit. I got my lead guard, right? I got my lead guard. In the process of me having my lead guard, I got my big man. Me getting my big man. All right. So now what's next? When it comes to the Sacramento Kings. Now you got to get a small forward. But instead, in the 20 draft, I believe it is. It was either the 19 or the 20 draft. They took Halliburton. Right? They ended up taking Halliburton in that draft. And that was a mistake at the time. But when I think about it, was it a mistake? Because you ultimately traded him for the big that you was looking for in Sabonis. Well, some people can say, well, you got lucky. Right? You got lucky with Halliburton. Now, Halliburton at that time was probably the best player available. When you look at what was going on, right? We already had you already got your big man. I mean, you already got your lead guard in De'Aaron Fox. You got your big man in Bagley, who turns out to be made of glass, and none of us knew that. So now what do I need? Could I get a wing? Right? Could I get a wing? They ended up passing on a guy like they passed on Jaden McDaniels. Right? They end up passing on a guy like Jaden McDaniels. So can you imagine Jaden McDaniels? Can you imagine Jaden McDaniels with De'Aaron Fox? Now, again, I understand it actually worked out for Sacramento because you ultimately ended up trading Halliburton and you got your big man in Sabonis. But again, I'm a fit guy because I've seen teams, right? I've seen teams that take the best player or the best players get together, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work. I've seen Russ and LeBron James get together. That was a disaster. That was a complete disaster. I saw Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden get together. You gave up Karis LeVert, who you drafted. You gave up Jared Allen, who you drafted, thinking about building a unit around them. And you could have built the unit around them. Now, I understand that, if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are available, you take them. Sure, I get that. Yes, sure, I get that. But I didn't know exactly what KD was going to be when he came back from that Achilles. He came back fantastic. Still a fantastic player. But when I'm drafting, I draft a franchise player. And when I'm drafting, if I got Luka If I got Luka in the draft, if I got Giannis in the draft, I'm not going to the next year draft Joker. No, I'm not doing that. No. Does Joker fit with Giannis? No, I'm not doing that. I can look at this two ways. The player that got drafted before the guy in question, like Luka, so the fact that they take Bagley and Bagley didn't turn out to be what they wanted him to be, it looks bad. Very much like what was going on in Portland when the Bulls passed, not the Bulls, I'm sorry, the Trailblazers end up passing on Jordan. Well, remember, they already got a two guard in Drex, who he turned out to be really good, guys. I just want to put that on your mind. He did. He turned out to be really good. And they already had an all-star league guard in Paxson. Not John Paxson that played for the Bulls, his brother Jim. Yeah, he was an all-star in Portland. So we already got a two guard. We already got our lead guard. We need a big guy. Do I trade? Do I put Jordan, like Bob Knight said, play Jordan at center? None of us thought that Jordan would be that good. None of us did. None of us had the idea that none of us had the idea that he would be as good as we thought he was going to be. None of us thought that. And the way that they were building that unit, it worked. It was working. They ended up getting a point guard who fit in Terry Porter. They ended up getting a swing man in Jerome Kersey. They ended up getting a dirty work guy in Buck Williams. They ended up getting a five-man in Duckworth. They ended up getting a rotation player in Cliff Robinson. That makes sense. Because there was maybe a better player than Cliff Robinson. Maybe. But did he work for what we were doing? Yes, he did. 100%. 100%. He works better for 100%. He works better for what we're doing. So because he works better, we're drafting for fit. You got a lead guard in Isaiah Thomas who they're building that unit around in Detroit. In 85, they end up getting Joe Dumars. They trade for Bill Laimbeer. They trade for Adrian Dantley. That actually worked. They were in the East Finals. They were in the NBA championship. Even though Adrian Dantley and Isaiah did not get along. That is not news. They did not get along. So they end up trading them, trading for Adrian Dantley. It did work for a long time. They were building something, and that's the point. If I have a better player, he may not necessarily fit with what my unit is doing. I always reference the Detroit Pistons when they traded Adrian Dantley to Dallas for Mark Aguirre, and Bill Laimbeer made it clear to Mark Aguirre, hey, we got a very good situation here. Because they built that thing. Right? They built it. In 85, they get Joe Dumars. In 88, I mean, then they trade for Adrian Dantley. We're building this thing. So now you move off of Adrian Dantley for Mark Aguirre, who isn't a better player than Adrian Dantley, but he fits better with this unit. It works. Right? It works. So what I do is, this is the route I'm going. Better fit over better player, because I feel like we could always replace. I feel like we could always replace better players. And when I get a better fit, it just works better. We've seen time and time again right? We've seen time and time again when players fit with the system that we're running, how much better the system is. AC Green fit with the system. Draymond Green fit with the system that we're running. As good as David Lee was at that time, because David Lee was a better player at that time than Draymond. Draymond fit better with the system. He fit better with what we were doing. Monte Ellis was better than Klay Thompson at that time. He was a better player. Klay fits better with what we're trying to do. This works better. And you ultimately get the best backcourt in NBA history. Ultimately, you ultimately get the best backcourt in NBA history because these two work together. Now, does that mean that Monte Ellis was less than? I mean, he was averaging like 26 a game. He was a bucket getter, right? He was a straight bucket getter, and in the process of him being a bucket getter, it looked good, but the Golden State Warriors had the foresight to go, this 6'6" sniper from 24 feet. This is the future of basketball right here. With this guy, this is the future of basketball. This is what the game is about to look like. So maybe we should consider moving off of him. Now, it sounds ridiculous at the time. It sounds completely and utterly foolish at the time. But what, 14 years later, 4 NBA championships, 6 trips to the NBA Finals, 4 NBA championships later, what do we have here? We have the best backcourt in NBA history in Klay Thompson and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Because the fit was better. They're not drafting Klay, looking at Klay going, he's a better player than Monte Ellis. Because at that time he wasn't. He was not a better player than Monte Ellis. No, he was not. He's a baller. I won't argue that. My buddy was the assistant basketball coach at Idaho State, and I remember they played them. This was, I want to say the 12, maybe the 12 season, and he hit me like, "Yo, remember Michael Thompson? That used to play for the Lakers. Yeah, I remember him. His son is up at Washington State. Yo, he is a baller, but he wasn't better than Klay Thompson at that time. But he fit better with Curry. It worked. So I definitely lean more toward fit than I do the better player, because I feel like I can replace a better player with a better fit. I've seen that in the past, right? I've seen a better player or a lesser player move in and be a better fit for what we're doing. I'm not sure that Larry Johnson was better than Anthony Mason. Considering what I think LJ was more talented. But Anthony Mason fit in Charlotte with what they were doing. Even though that whole situation between him and Lonzo, that whole thing went the other way. But I feel like Larry Johnson fit with the Knicks. I think that Mace might have been a little bit more skilled as a ball handler, as a distributor, even though Larry Johnson was incredible on the block. Injuries slowed him down. He had a bad back. Yep. Injuries end up slowing him down. But when I think about fit players, when I think about players who are system guys, a prime example, anytime I see Jaime Jaquez, right? Anytime I see Jaime Jaquez, even if he didn't play for the Miami Heat, he just looks like a Miami Heat. Like he fits there. It works. Now, did the Miami Heat, was there a better player available at number 17 when when Jaime Jaquez came out, I'm not sure about that. I can't say with 100% certainty that there was a better player at 18 than him. When I look at, Pods was available, Cam Whitmore was available. The Heat passed on Cam Whitmore. Guys like that, right? They passed on Podziemski with the Warriors, and they passed on Cam Whitmore. And Cam Whitmore also seems to be very. He looks like a Miami Heat too. Like he looks like he'd be really good with the Miami Heat. But this is their guy, and Jaquez. He works with what's going on with the Miami Heat. He fits right into that small forward spot. Bam at the 5, because that's what it is when you're building a unit, right? When I'm building a unit, right? When I'm building a unit, I feel like I can throw a bunch of players who are good players together, right? I could throw a bunch of players who are good together, but what I can't do is I can't mimic chemistry. Either this thing works or it doesn't. And I got to get the right fit. That's where the chemistry comes in. Right? That's where the chemistry comes in when I see these players meshing the way that they do. It's obvious that this thing works. So when I see Jaime Jaquez get on that Miami Heat team with Bam, with buckets, okay, this works. Is he better than Pods coming out of college? It's close. It's 100% close, and I'm not sure that the Heat couldn't have got him at 18. I'm not sure about that, because could he do what Tyler Hero does? Because I think Tyler Hero's a rotation player, but I think Jaquez fits better. He fits a need for us, which is at the small forward spot. We already straight at the 2 spot. We good. We're a championship contender, right? We're a championship contender at that time. They were in the NBA championship. We're a championship contender. We need a small forward. This works. It does make sense to take the better player sometimes when you already have your unit together. The best example I can give you is in '79 when the Lakers took Magic. They already had everything else. We got our 5-man. We got our small forward. We got our 2 in Norm Nixon. We got we got our swing man. We got our rotation guys. We got everything else. Everything else that's necessary, we got it. We do. We need a lead guard. Just so happened that the best player in the country was a lead guard. Just so happens that the best player in the country happened to be a lead guard. He's perfect for what we're doing. He fits with us. This works. If the Boston Celtics in the 24-25 season, if they ended up considering everything that they have, who's the best player available? Do we need another bucket getter? I don't think that, especially if you're in the draft, I don't think it's a bad thing to draft another bucket getter. But what else is available? Because bucket getters have a tendency they get lost in the sauce. Like, what else do you do? Especially when you're on a team like the Celtics, when you're on a team like Denver. Because we already have that. Right? We already have bucket getters. What we don't have, you can never have enough in between guys. What I mean when I say in between guys, you can never have enough rebounders, wing defenders, paint presence, hustle guys. You can never have enough of them. My uncle told me a long time ago when I was a kid. He said, if you rebound and you defend, I don't care what else you do. If you rebound and you defend, that coach will find minutes for you. He will get you on the floor. If I look at what was going on with the Olympic team, when I look at what was going on in the Olympic team, with all of that talent, Durant, Curry, James, Ant, Book, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Bam, line them all up. It was a plethora of talent on that crew. I know one thing. I know Steve Kerr found minutes for Drew Holiday. He need to be on the floor. He need to be. I'll figure the rest of you guys' minutes out. He need to be on the floor though. I'll figure out the rest of the minutes from the rest of you dudes. But he getting run. That dude right there is going to play. If you defend, if you rebound. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about when you're drafting a guy. So in Divac's defense, it does make sense. It does make sense the route he was going. Is it ridiculous to think that the jury is still out? No, it's not ridiculous to think that the jury is still out. I'm in the minority when I say that, I don't think Luka's game is going to age well. I don't. I'm just one of those people. I just don't think his game is going to age well. Not because he's not a ridiculous talent, but because I don't know how long I don't see Luka holding up 15 years and playing at that level. I don't. I just don't. As good as he is, I just don't see him holding up that long. I don't. And De'Aaron Fox, for all intents purposes, has gotten better every year. He went from 12 to 18 to 21 to 26, and he's playing at an all-league defensive level, which, you get a lot of people who, because you're not an all-league defender, you don't defend. Well, that's not necessarily true. No, you can play at an all-league defensive level, right? You can play at an all-league defensive level, but not be an all-league defender. De'Aaron Fox is evidence of that. Jaylen Brown is evidence of that. Jason Tatum is evidence of that. There are guys who have played at that level, but they haven't cracked the lineup yet. They close. They are close. Jalen Suggs didn't just come out of nowhere, just so you guys know. And this is De'Aaron Fox, who will guard, will 100% defend. 100% he will defend. He's a 6-7 assist a game guy. And with him being that, his game, as fast as it is, as slick as it is, as athletic as he is, I think his game, it can age well. He looks like he takes care of his body. He's not one of these guys that consistently gets injured. He's somewhat of an Iron Man. Don't get me wrong. Last season, he had the ankle injury early. That kind of slowed them down. Because I think if he plays right from the beginning, and they get off to a better start than they did, they could very well be a playoff team. Because again, we're talking about the same Sacramento team that before Herta and Malik Monk go down with injury, before them two go down, they're anywhere between 5 and 7, 5 and 8. They were a legit top 10, top 12 team last year before Herta and Monk go down. That was going on. 100% going on. So with Sabonis, Fox, are they a championship team? I don't know. I'm not sure I want to go that far. But barring injuries, I do think that they could compete more in the Western Conference. So when I see the idea that passing on Luka was a mistake, Well, it depends on how you look at it. It depends on how you look at it. What I mean when I say that is, if you building your unit and you trying to win, right? You building your unit and you're trying to win, and it seems to be working in Sacramento. Well, it's not working because they missed the playoffs last year. They had a couple of guys go down. That had nothing to do with Fox. The year before that, they had made the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. They were a number 3 seed. And then last year, they win 46 games. If both Herter and Malik Monk don't go down, that's probably a 50-win team. And they're in the playoffs. Whether they're out in round 1 or not, that remains to be seen. But they're definitely a 50-win team, I think. I mean, they win 46 games last year off the strength of – they win 46 games last year off the strength of Monk missing the last 10 games. I don't know if you guys know this, but 10 games, that's almost a month. That can make or break your season. It ended up breaking Malik Monk's season. I thought he was the best rotation player in the game. That's why Big Jelly, Nas Reed, won it. Because if he doesn't, and Malik Monk stays healthy, like I said, they're a 50-win team. And that's powered by their point guard. I feel like it's powered by their point guard in De'Aaron Fox. So, again, in summary, I am a fit guy more. I am definitely a fit guy more than I'm the best player, considering what's going on at the time. Now, don't get me wrong. If Olajuwon is on the board and you pass, you fired. You cannot pass on Olajuwon. You can't pass on Wemby. You can't pass on James. You can't. No. You pass on Olajuwon, you're fired. You pass on Duncan, you're fired. You pass on Paolo, you're fired. On the spot, you're fired. I'm not saying that this is over the course of 2, 3, 4. No. You're fired. On the spot, you're fired. You can't. This kid Paolo looks like a generational talent. He looks like somebody you can build your unit around. Yes. I love everything about his game. Everything. When you pass on guys like that, it's difficult, in my estimation, it's difficult to justify you keeping your job. Now, I do understand. I do understand the logic of how you building your unit, which is what Sacramento was doing at the time. We garbage, right? They were terrible. It was draft pick after draft pick they were missing. Thomas Robinson, Tariq Evans was the rookie of the year, and then he was solid, but then he didn't really turn into what they thought he was going to turn into. I thought he was going to be better. Also, I didn't even think that he'd be rookie of the year. That was a surprise to me. But when you have that when you have that kind of talent, you have to establish who your franchise player is. You have to get that. You have to. And once you do that, then you can build around that guy. My man Tony Tone tells me to pass on Odin. I mean, of course, today sounds like it sounds brilliant because again, we're talking about 2020. I mean, we're talking about 2024. I did not know Greg Oden was made of glass. I did not know that. No, I didn't. No, I did not know that. If I'd have known that, I would have passed on him. But him coming out of college, it would have been hard for me to say no to him. Edward asks me, is Paolo on Tatum level coming out of college versus Tatum 3 years ago versus year 3. Is that what it is? Versus Tatum first 3 years, OG? Is Paolo on Tatum's level coming out of college? Yes, he is. 100% he is. And the trajectory between the both of them is pretty similar. I mean, Jason Tatum was getting better. I mean, let's see, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. I think he made the All-Star team in 20. Mm-hmm. Paolo made the All-Star team in year 2. So I do think that I do think that if I'm picking between the two of them coming out of school, I don't think I'm passing on Paolo. I'm not. And I thought Jason Tatum was a 20 a game guy coming out of school. But I feel like Paolo, his game at that time coming out of school is going to translate better. When I see Paolo, and I'm on record saying this, that's Antoine Walker, except a better athlete, a better passer. That's who I'm looking at. That's exactly who I'm looking at. Antoine Walker, right? That's who I feel like I'm looking at. Antoine Walker, except a better athlete and a better passer. Not a completely not a completely better skill set, because Antoine Walker, I think, was a better athlete, and I think he was a better one-on-one player. And he was a better rebounder too. But he reminds me, when I watch him, that's who he reminds me of. When I see him, he reminds me, that's Antoine. I see Antoine Walker when I see him. So when a guy is coming out of when a guy is coming out of school, like this kid Paolo 2 years ago, of the guys that I've seen, with the exception of Wemby, am I taking Chet over Paolo? I'm not sure I'm taking Chet over Paolo coming out of school. Chet doesn't look as durable. And I may, as a GM, get fired, but I'm building my unit. I feel like Chet fits. And this is a prime example of what we're talking about. I feel like Chet fits with what they're doing in Oklahoma City. I think he fits perfect with what they're doing in Oklahoma City. I think Paolo is a franchise player. I could build my unit around him. I could possibly build my unit around Chet. I'm not sure he's made of glass or not. I'm not. But I'm gonna find out. I just think that this kid, I think this kid Paolo, is the future. I do. I 100%. I 100% believe that he's the future. And Orlando got it right with him. Now, some people will tell you, it's not difficult drafting young players. It's not hard to see Paolo Banchero or Ja Morant or Zion. It's not hard to. Yeah, it actually is. Yes, it is. Excuse me. Yes, 100% it is. And the reason why I say that is because we've seen teams miss in the top 5. We've seen that. We've seen teams get guys at the top of the draft, and we were wrong about him. We were 100% wrong about him. We've seen that. That's not news. Like the Lakers passing on Jason Tatum. The Lakers passing on Jason Tatum is a prime example. Lonzo Ball sounded like the right choice at the time, though. He sounded like it, even though I thought De'Aaron Fox. I think it was a real conversation between him and Lonzo, who was the best point guard in the country, and who fit better, right? Who fit better? But these guys at the top of the draft, just because you have guys at the top of the draft, that doesn't mean that, okay, I got an eye for this, I'm going to get it right. Cleveland didn't get it right with Dion Waiters. They passed on Damian Lillard. And they passed on Damian Lillard. Why? Because they had Kyrie Irving. So Kyrie Irving and Damian Lillard don't fit. Kyrie Irving and Dion Waiters do, though. At the time, it sounded like a good idea. These two guys fit. But moving forward, Irving and Damian Lillard, no. You can't get it. You can't get it wrong when you're that high in the draft. I mean, the Charlotte Hornets take Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Did it sound like a good idea with that broke jumper? Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna pass on him. I'm straight. I just think that the better fit is I think that the better fit is more important than the better player. What up?
What up, Jeff?
What up? What
Yeah,
up?
and I'm conflicted on this because at first I was thinking, nah, you should always draft a better player. But then when you brought up the OKC example, and then I was thinking about Darren Lively with the Mavericks, he was a great fit with Luca. I don't really know. I think now I believe you're right that you should probably draft based on fit. But the only reason why I got a little problem with that is like sometimes you don't know who's going to be that good. And I
Right.
don't think De'Aaron Fox is that good to draft Bagley over Luca. And the reason why I initially thought you should always draft a better player because if you draft the better player and you do that like 2 straight years, you can see who's the best of the players that you drafted, and then you can try to trade the other one that wasn't as good as what you thought he would be. Because
Hmm.
I don't think you never know who's really going to be that good sometimes. Like sometimes you'll be surprised on like who's going to be the better player. And so that's why I initially thought, now you should always go for the better player because even if you draft on fit, you
Right.
don't even know if that the player that you're drafting is going to be a good fit with the
But
player that you're supposed to be bidding around.
and with that being said, I challenge that with the better player. Do I know that game is going to translate to the pro game? It looks good on this level, but does that mean it's going to translate to the pro game? I thought Thomas Robinson was the next Karl Malone. I loved him coming out of Kansas. I thought that he was a building block in Sacramento. He couldn't defend on the box. He couldn't hit mid-range shots. He couldn't play one-on-one on the block. He wasn't a good rebounder. He just didn't seem like he understood the game. And on top of that, Sacramento, they didn't seem to know what they were doing with him. So I think that there was debt on both sides. So just because a guy is a better player, that doesn't mean that game is going to translate to the pro game. To your point, when you brought up Derek Lively, I mean, he was the best available player at the time. But like, does Jaime Jaquez fit better with that Dallas Maverick team?
No, no, he doesn't. He doesn't fit like Darren Lively does. And
How
I
about
mean, I actually think Darren Lively probably would fit with other players other than just Luka. So he might have been one of the better players in the draft that I'm talking about, but nobody knew it.
does Pods fit with Luca? Because remember,
Pods.
we don't have Irv yet. We have not moved on. We haven't traded for Irv yet. Does Pods fit better with Luca?
Now, I don't think nobody fit better with Luka than Lively. I think
I
Lively
think it
was like
works.
the. I think Lively was the perfect player for Luka. I don't think nobody fits better with Luka than Lively. Like
Now,
like Lively got them over the hump to the finals. I think that they would have went to the finals without Kyrie Irving. That's how good I think Lively is.
I think
So
he gives
your
them a
question, no.
dynamic that I think he gives them a dynamic that they didn't have. I thought he was going to be a project. I was wrong about him. The Derek Lively. First of all, he was a lot smarter than what I thought. He was a lot better passer than what I thought. I knew he was going to be that kind of finisher because I knew what kind of distributor Luca was. I did know that, but I didn't think that he would be that good on a perimeter as a passer and pick and pop in the short roll and finding guys at the long ball line. I didn't think he'd be that good, but he was. Now sometimes, and this is not all the time, but sometimes even a guy who's a better fit is the better player too. You can be the better player and be a better fit. That could happen. A prime example is Drew Holiday. Think about Eric Bledsoe in Milwaukee. Exit Drew exit 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 Bledsoe, enter Drew Holiday. I do everything you do, set better. I'm better than you, and I fit on this unit. Fast forward to 23. Marcus Smart comes out the lineup. Drew Holiday comes in the lineup. Everything you do, I do it. Set better, and I'm the same fit for this unit as you are. It was just about trust because they had Marcus Smart on the crew for as long as they had him on the crew for. So now we bring this new dude in. We gotta figure out if we can trust him. That's all that was.
Right, right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm conflicted, but I think with the draft, maybe I don't know how it's possible because the college game it seems like it's so much different than the pro.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we need more scouts in the NBA to be able to see that somebody like Darren Lively would have been such a great fit. I kind of feel like the NFL does a good job in scouting players
Mm-hmm.
because like somebody like Josh Allen, I never heard about him in college, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow somebody was able to see what type of player he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I don't really think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really think the
No, you're not.
NBA scouts players like the NFL
You're
does.
not.
And I
You're not.
think they need to do a better job of that.
They do.
And if they did in the perfect world, I'm going to say you should always draft a better player if you can scout the player the right way.
And
But we don't live in a perfect world, so I would
no,
go
we
with the
don't.
better
We
fit
do
because we
not.
don't.
And in the NBA, just like the NFL, they have regional scouts, right? They have regional scouts in the NBA where they got a guy who scouts the SEC or he scouts down south. They got a guy who's their West Coast scout with the Philadelphia 76ers, right? The Celtics got a guy who scouts out west. You know, he scouts the West Coast Conference, the Pac-12. He scouts those. He scouts those leagues, and he decides, okay, I like this guy. I like this guy. I think this guy fits with our unit. I don't think that this guy fits. I don't think the problem with NBA scouts in conjunction with NFL scouts. I don't think NBA scouts do enough homework on guys. That's why you see guys missing more because I don't think that they do nearly as much homework. So, good to talk to you, though, my man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. I don't think that they do enough homework on their guys, which would explain why they miss like they do. Because if they did do their homework, and I am an advocate of this, right? I am an advocate of this. If they did do their homework, we'd see more Damian Lillards, right? We would see many more Damian Lillards. We would see more Pozinskis. We would see more of those guys because guys are doing their homework. We'd see more Jalen Williams. We'd see a lot more of those. What up, Breezy?
Yo,
What up?
oh man, I would love to get in this conversation. With the Nets fans thinking about the draft we got coming up. Um, I wanted to ask you. This is a rumor that I heard. Nets fans they stirring up a lot. So we basically saying that Schroeder might be out and going to Orlando so he could play with the same guys he played with on his national team. We might figure out a way to get some draft picks and so on and so forth. But to the conversation, we would need a lead guard. Now, to your point, I kind of wanted to stay there about the lead guard because of the success of the Nets with Kenny Anderson, Marbury, Kidd. Also, these last champions, the lead guard played great, whether it be Drew Holiday twice, Jamal Murray. So I'm thinking the Nets need to go for a fit in a dynamic point guard, maybe a Dylan Harper. And I got to do my homework, and we actually got to see the games played to say who's who and what's what.
Right.
But my question to you is, based on what you see on the roster, and it's really early to ask, but we got Jalen Wilson at the small forward. So right now, Nets fans is toggling between who would be the better fit for the roster that we have constructed right now. Would it be Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, or Dylan Harper? Now, my thing is Dylan Harper is the point guard, and do we need a fit for a point guard more than a small forward? Is the point guard more important for the Brooklyn Nets than a small forward? Like, how do you feel about fits for point guard or small forward?
Well, the thing I'm thinking about when I brought up De'Aaron Fox, for example, when they drafted De'Aaron Fox, that's their Cooper Flag. That's their Kenny Anderson, right? That's their franchise guy. This is the dude we building it around. We don't have any of that in Brooklyn. Like, who's the dude we building this thing around? In your estimation, Breezy, when you look at your crew, who is the guy that we're building this unit around? Like, I am not listening to the, trading for Jimmy Butler. I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument, traded for Jimmy Butler. How long you gonna have him for? 2 years?
Max.
Yes, you gotta have him for 2 years. So that doesn't really make any sense. My question is who is the guy that we're building this thing around? Who is our franchise player? And Brooklyn doesn't have that. So we got to establish that first. Once we establish whether it's a small forward, whether it's a 5-man, because you're not building it around Claxton. Claxton is a piece. You're not building it around Cam, because Cam is another piece. He a bucket getter, even though I was doing some homework, and it turns out the Joker was 10th in the league last year in scoring. He averaged 25 a game. You're telling me that Cam, if Cam gives you one more bucket a game, that's a top 10 scorer in the league. That's a top 10 scorer in the league. That's neither here nor there. The question is who is the franchise player in Brooklyn? And if we can get the franchise player in Brooklyn, now we can build around him. Okay, we got our guy. Just like what happened in Portland. When Portland had LaMarcus Aldridge, Aldridge was their guy. They go get a lead guard, Damian Lillard. He's going to complement him. Then we go get C.J. McCollum. He's going to complement Damian Lillard. They're going to run in the backcourt. Plus, we got this big guy, Aldridge. This is going to work. Only you lose Aldridge. So now Lillard becomes our franchise guy. So now we're building this thing around him. And who's going to complement him? So we don't need another lead guard. We don't need another 2 guard, because we got a guy who's 6 years straight averaging 20 a game. I don't know how many 2 guards in the league. I don't know how many lead guards got to do it in the backcourt averaging 20 a game for 6 straight years. Right. The question is how are we building this unit around? How are we building this unit around this dude? That's the logic in Brooklyn. Who is our franchise guy, and who are we building this unit? Who are we building this thing around? If I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets, it's what I've already told you, Breezy. I'm in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. I am. I'm in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. I have to get a franchise player, and I'm building my unit around that guy.
Nah, we Nets fans feel the same way. I don't think they're gonna put all their stock behind Cam Thomas and try to compete per se. We got 2 of our draft picks back to back in next season, and I think they take the Boston route. To keep it real with you, I think they try to get their own Tatum and Brown in that situation and have them be the quote unquote franchise guys. Now, to your point, I've seen Cam Thomas play alongside KD, Kyrie, Harden, where he would be the number 2 or 3 guy. But I also seen him the number 1 guy play with Ben Simmons, which ain't saying much, but Ed Sumner, DDJ. So I would like to say that I think Cam Thomas is very interchangeable on what piece he can be. Like, he could be a piece that could give you 22, and that's a light season for him. Or this season, I feel like the Nets, it behooves the Nets to try to sign him early, because it's going to be an old price, new price. The old price is going to be signing him for what it is right now. The new price is going to be the numbers he's going to be putting up. And in my estimation, humble estimation, I would say 25 to 28 points a game. You know what I'm saying?
And yesterday's price won't be today's price. It won't be.
Nah, I'm saying this because I know this is a big platform, and I know you're on Player's Choice, and I like kicking up the dust. You know what I mean? I think that he's going to be the either 1 or 2 scorer in the city. Now, it's going to be him and Jalen Brunson, in my opinion. And I think they're going to toggle on who's the best scorer in the city. And for now, you could say it's Jalen Brunson. I'm not here to debate that. But going into next season, his contract year, with Ben Simmons coming off the books, he would be the only guy that we would pay. I think it behooves the Brooklyn Nets to focus on him, even if he's not necessarily the quote-unquote franchise player. You want him to be essential in a rotation, because you need 2 shot creators when you're building a championship team.
I think so.
That's fair to say, right, Joe? Like, you don't want to just have
one shot creating ain't enough. Not in today's game. It's not. You definitely need another guy who can create his own shot. I can't have just me creating shots for everybody else. That was the problem in Dallas. That was the reason. That was the reason why they were what they were, because Luka was so responsible. I think you heard me say this, Breezy. Like, I don't have a problem with how good Luka is, but 35, 9 and 9, 33, 10 and 8. Like, why you got to do so much?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Why does he
What
have to
about
do that much? He shouldn't have
what
to do
about
that much.
what about what you said earlier tonight about Paolo? Because I don't see them having a second dominant scorer neither. They don't have a
Well,
second shot creator behind Paolo.
well, I think this kid Wagner, I think he's the real deal. I do. I think
Okay.
he's the real deal, and I think he's going to help them out tremendously. 100%, I believe that. So I like what they're doing in Orlando. 100%, I do. And the fact that Dallas traded for Irv, that gives Dallas a different dynamic. And to your point, you definitely need another shot creator and scorer. You have to. I have to have that. Otherwise, we're not gonna. We ain't going far because what's going to happen is we're going to run up on a team in the playoffs. If we get to the playoffs, we're going to run up on a team in the playoffs that have way more than us. Plus, they do what we do. That's not going to be enough. So, good to talk to you, Breezy. I know where to find
Thank
you at,
you.
brother. Absolutely. I am an advocate, right? I am an advocate of getting it right. Like TD12 says, "Chill, what's your biggest get it right?" I say Pippen coming from an NAIA school. No, not really. I don't know. I don't know if Pippen was a get it right because Jerry Krause had already seen him. Jerry Krause had already seen him. It was very similar to Red Auerbach. It was very similar to Red Auerbach, who he goes down south. His man tells him that I found out starting two guard. Where is he at? He's at the University of North Carolina. He's at Ohio. No, he's at an all-black school. And his name is Sam Jones. And Red Auerbach is like, don't tell nobody about this. Keep this quiet. Don't say a word about this. He sees him and he's like, we ain't telling nobody. Keep your mouth shut about this guy. Because if we start talking about him, the word's going to get out. And the next thing you know, everybody's going to want him. So no. Same logic with Jerry Krause when he saw Scottie Pippen at the Portsmouth Invitational in Virginia in 1987. They're going to start small forward. I imagine, to be honest with you, TD12, I imagine a conversation going something like this. Hey, Jerry, hey, what's going on? How's it look down here? You need to get on the plane and you need to get down here. What do you mean? What's going on? That's why I sent you down there. Jerry, I just found out small forward for the next 12 years. What? Yes, I just found out small forward for the next 12 years. Is he at the University of North Carolina? Is he at Michigan? No. He's coming from an NAIA school called Central Arkansas. He's 6'8". He's got a 6'11", 7-foot wingspan, run like a deer. You need to get down here, and you need to get down here now. And Jerry Krause is on a plane like that day. Like, I need to see who this dude is talking about. And sure enough, he sees him and he goes, we ain't telling anybody how interested we are in this guy. We keeping this under wraps. Quiet. Mum's the word. Because if we put it out there, then all the dogs are gonna come sniffing. I think that getting it right, to answer your question, TD, I think getting it right is at the top of the draft. I don't think getting it right is in the middle of the draft. So when you pass on Olajuwon, right? You better get this right. This better be correct, right? When you pass on Joe Dumars, even though we don't know what these guys are going to be, but when you are at the top and you got a top 5 pick, we got to get it right. The Miami Heat had to get Dwayne Wade right. This has to be the right pick. We can't blow this because when you're in the lottery, when you're in the lottery, we're in a position where if we get this wrong, this could set us back years. So Dwayne Wade, because the Heat were in a transition, they were rebuilding. They hadn't had a lottery pick in a long time. I don't think Wade was a can't miss. I don't think that for him. No, I don't. I'd be lying if I said I thought Wade was a can't miss because I don't think that at all. But yeah, I think Wade. I think Wade is at the top of that list and the guy who we got to get this right. We 100% got to get this right. So, all right, guys, it's about that time for me. Y'all know what time it is. I am back in effect. I was out of town for a little bit, but I am back in effect. You will see me on here more. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. I will be back in effect. And if I'm not here, you know where to find me. I'm on a panel. If I'm not on the panel, I'm on TikTok Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. If I'm not there, you can find me and my man Big Ox. You can find me and my man Big Ox on Saturday at 12 o'clock on Chill with Chill. So I'm not hard to find. I am not hard to find. So I will see you guys soon. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light, but take it. Absolutely. It was good to see you guys tonight. It was good.